joining us now. Absolute icon. All right, this guy, legend. A man that was dominating Twitter before anybody else was dominating Twitter. He has pivoted that into a rocket ship of a media career with Barstool Sports. Co-host of the Spittin Chiclets podcast, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Bissonnette.
Yeah! Fucking right. That's a nice little intro there. It's been a while since I've been on. The team's grown.
Hey, yeah, we got a whole squad. This is AJ Hawk, by the way. Similar mentalities, I believe, you and he.
I'm a big Packers fan. I watch you play, man. Congrats on a wonderful career, and congrats on the transferring it to this, man. Fucking right.
And a baby.
Appreciate it, man. I listen to all your stuff. You're awesome. Hey, Biz, I just heard you
going on.
Biz, I heard your Foligno interview. It just came out. I actually just happened to listen to it. Foligno, I live in Columbus, so I used to watch him play all the time.
Yeah, we've had both the brothers on. We still got to get the old man, but a great family, and both of them still kicking in playoffs. Boston, I thought they were done for, but they're storming back against the Carolina Hurricanes. Hockey playoffs have been wild right now, boys, and I would imagine that's probably why you had me on.
Yes, by the way. And also your coverage has been fantastic. I think this is big for the NHL, going to Turner and to ESPN. Obviously on Turner, you and Gretzky in there, and so many other. I mean, the way they're covering it is awesome. For you, has it been interesting going straight into like the sports media world where you're like breaking down the tape and breaking down aspects of it versus the podcast in which you all are hilarious and have better conversations than the sports media people? Have you had difficulties bouncing back and forth, and how have you enjoyed the TV aspect of it all?
Yeah, so I was born French-Canadian, so like English really, I'm like 50-50 as far as how well I can speak it. So, and of course, growing up in a locker room, like I'm swearing every other word. So transforming into, to go onto the national stage is very difficult. Like normally I run things through one filter. Now I'm running things through two filters. So definitely been it's been a tough transition. I've been called in a few times and gotten pee-pee whacked for a few things that I've said on the air. Regarding the girls' jugs the other night behind the Dallas Stars bench.
Oh, that's what you guys were talking about.
That's what Tony was talking about.
I didn't see that.
I
didn't see that, Pat. I didn't see that.
Yeah, you did. You said cannons in the Dallas Stars.
We're talking about fucking from the blue line.
I was talking about clap bombs, I thought. I didn't know.
Told you they were bombs behind the bench.
Probably the nicest set of tits behind an NHL bench ever. But hey, it's happened a few times. I think the Leafs had a girl with these like the ones that the Leafs had behind the bench were like Dolly Parton sized tits. Like they must have been like triple Fs, and these girls are just out there promoting their OnlyFans behind the coaches, basically. So yeah, but it's been a little bit difficult. But luckily, with the experience of some of the
What
guys
did you say? What did you say? You said that lady's promoting her OnlyFans right there behind the coach on Turner?
No, I was just making comments about basically your jugs. I commented on the DP, and there's been a few other things that I've said where they've called me in. They said, "Hey, buddy, this isn't Spittin Chiclets. You need to tone it down." So I appreciate them working with me and helping with the transition. But yeah, it's hard, right? Because you're going from podcast form where you're able to articulate your thoughts and talk for 2-3 minutes, and then all of a sudden you got to get out your point very fast. So I'm not, I didn't go to any broadcast school, and I'm not the most polished speaker. So with that French background and that locker room talk, I'm definitely easing into it. But as I mentioned, the guys have been great. Working with Wayne, Anson, and Liam have been incredible. And buddy, after these broadcasts, some nights we go to Wayne's room till like 4 or 5 in the morning. This guy is the biggest guy. Will crush beers. He will tell me all these iconic stories and backstories.
Oh, God.
Buddy, it's a dream come true, and that alone is incentive enough for me to fly out here once a week or twice a week and do this gig, just to hear these behind-the-scenes stories of the greatest hockey player of all time.
That's awesome.
Did you have any relationship with Gretzky before you got on this show? And like, I didn't know you were getting hang out with the dude after shows and hear all these stories. Like, is he what you expected?
He's what I expected and more. But so when I was playing in Arizona, I actually was buddies with his kids, and he was the head coach for the Arizona Coyotes the year before I got there. The year I got there, they ended up going a different direction. I don't know how it all played out. But because the market was down in Arizona, he kept his house in PV. He had this beautiful mansion, and his kids were going to ASU. So both of his sons and their best friend, Joey Superstein, were living in this mansion. and they would throw shakers every weekend. So we would have home games on Saturday. We would go to the bar, and then we would go back to his place. And let's just put it this way, like, I was batting 1,000 at this place. The girls were just everywhere. It was insane. So I actually ended up knowing his kids before I knew him. So that was an easier transition than meeting him, because they actually vouched for me and told him when he got the TNT gig, hey, you got to make sure you get Biz on. He does Spittin Chiclets. I think it'll help the broadcast. So Wayne ended up putting in the good word, and then it all worked out. So as I said, everything I expected and more. He's been so kind to me. And I really got to thank his kids, Ty and Trevor, for the introduction and also for helping me get laid.
Yeah, and Superstein. Yeah, it sounds like Superstein was part of that whole operation as well. Whenever you talk about Spittin Chiclets, though, being a reason for why you're getting a job on Turner from Wayne and from his kids there, I think that's incredible, because starting something on the internet at Barstool and then creating something that is relevant enough and impactful enough and puts a dent in everything enough that it is used as a reason for why you should get one of the biggest jobs in hockey right now is really cool. Why do you think the NHL in hockey has been so poorly marketed, especially with how good of the personalities like you and Whit and everybody talks to on your show? Like, I feel like we're learning more about the NHL through Spittin Chiclets than we have from the NHL for the last 40 years, basically. Why do you think that is the case, and do you think this will continue to grow?
I just think hockey guys are a little bit more reserved than maybe other sports. And, you kind of, follow the team concept, and you don't really, go off in your own way. And actually, when I ended up starting Twitter, I think like a lot of people were like shocked at what was going on there. Keep in mind, I was a lot more aggressive in my early days than I am now. I've definitely toned it down as the social line has moved as well. So even when I started doing that, I don't think if I was with the Arizona Coyotes organization, I would have been allowed to do it. Like, if I was playing with the Toronto Maple Leafs, they would have shut down my account in no time. So I just think that sometimes, guys kind of just fall in line and maybe don't show enough of their personality the way they would, let's say, in the locker room. And, I just was always the type of guy to really beat to my own drum. And I think that, once the Twitter started and I felt that the fans really embraced it, because they're like, finally, someone who's willing to just kind of let it fly online and represent the hockey world as to the way we are in the locker room and our normal lives. And I think that just gave me the confidence in order to kind of keep it going and growing. And as my career ended, much like yours, you're like, you want to bring, the fans that love the game and who paid our salaries more enjoyment, because I couldn't bring it to them on the ice. That's why, other than maybe scrapping.
Hey, had a hell of a career, hell of a career.
A lot of health bombs, a lot of healthy scratches. But we want to bring them these behind-the-scenes stories. We want to interview these players and show off the personality that maybe they wouldn't have been comfortable sharing on maybe a typical mainstream network, and or just in general. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind transforming it into from just starting Twitter to what we've created, much like you guys have done here, and you guys are on planet Zoltan compared to where we're at.
No.
But I think that it just, not many guys have been willing to do it, but now I feel like more guys will start to, not only seeing the response from the fans, but maybe the bags that guys are starting to collect. And I know today was probably the epitome of that.
I think, are you talking about Tom Brady, $375 million?
Yes, that is absolutely insane.
Awesome.
Can we give him a round of another round?
Yeah, it's awesome. We did earlier.
Started a football podcast, for crying out loud.
No, that's what I was about to say. Like, I feel like you guys have gotten much faster than we ever did. Much faster than we ever did. Much bigger than we ever did. Because I think hockey fans, like you said, as a representation of the entire community, like as a genuine hockey fan, I was excited to meet and hear about these fucking dudes that I knew nothing about for whatever reason, because it never fell into my world. But what you guys did with the pink Whitneys, I mean, you guys, smart business, good business. Like, I'm fucking excited to watch you guys continue to grow and continue to go.
Yeah, and I love that type of stuff, and that one happened organically with New Amsterdam coming on as a sponsor, and then Whit just mentioned what his favorite drink was, and then all of a sudden, all these fans are sending us pictures, and my business manager is like, "Yo, we gotta do this thing," and we went back to Barstool, and I went back to Whit, and Whit was like, buddy, we do a hockey podcast. We're not doing a vodka here. And with a lot of persistence, and then finally them agreeing to do it, it happened. And then all of a sudden, college girls across America love this stuff. And, we're selling 1.2 million cases a year of Pink Whitney. And, and that kind of took on a mind of its own. But the good part about that, too, is, as the finances grew, it gave us more ability to hire more staff, travel more, be able to get better interviews, and just have more resources in order to keep growing the brand. So, it's, as I mentioned, it's been a whirlwind. I'm extremely grateful for a guy who, was lucky enough to make the league and get to play in Pittsburgh and Arizona, and I'm sure we're going to get to Sidney Crosby soon. I'm very blessed about where it's brought me.
Biz, before you get to Sidney Crosby, can you take some of those proceeds and maybe throw it to your old squad at Arizona? Are they getting kicked out of their arena for not paying their rent? Have they figured that out yet?
It has been a bit of a gong show, boys. So, we will be playing at ASU in a 5,000-seat arena for hopefully only the next 3 to 4 years. And originally,
next 3 to 4 years.
Well, they haven't even started construction, so they're trying to lock down some land in Tempe, which I can understand why the league is tripling down on why they originally brought it to Arizona and why they want to keep it there, because the market's flourishing. And if you're near that old town and that Viagra Triangle vortex, it would, people can go to the game, and it might be kind of that Vegas feel too, where even, fans from out of town watching their away team can come in, maybe get more affordable tickets. So there would be tons of success if they were able to have the arena in the right location. They ended up breaking ground in Scottsdale, and then Glendale came along and they said, right before they started construction, and basically said, we're going to give you the land for free, and we're going to build this brand new facility. And at the time, Glendale was one of the fastest growing cities in America, but nonetheless, not the area you want to be. It's 30 to 35 minutes from the action. So they did, and just when the team hasn't done so well, they really struggle for attendance. When the team has done well, when I was there, we made playoffs 3 years in a row. The attendance would grow, but not a solution for long-term success. So the new owners came in, they got hit with COVID, and they've been battling with the arena. There's been tons of conflict, which I can't get into details because I'm just the bagel boy for the organization, so I don't know that much. Yes, there were situations where they didn't pay their rent on time, so after all that conflict, they figured a solution for a part-time. They will be playing at ASU near an area where they eventually may build the rink. So as of right now, they don't have the land locked in order to build. If they don't get it within probably the next 18 months to 2 years, there is a chance that the team does relocate.
No!
I know. Because I love living there, and I still work part-time for the organization. I'm just trying to be as honest as possible about the situation. But I pray that they end up figuring out the arena situation and get it done at Tempe, because, as I mentioned, it's a fun place. You get all these bachelor parties that come in. You get all this craziness in Old Town. It's a party town. There's 5 million people in that area. You cannot mess it up. So hopefully they can get things on the right track and get that arena built.
All right, let's go.
Here we go.
3 to 4 years.
Come on, Zona.
3 to 4 years. Let's dive into the playoffs now, Biz. Hey, Sidney Crosby ain't going to let this team die, especially if they got King Deming in between the pipes. 7-2 last night over the fucking worthless Rangers who
Fuck
came
the
out.
Rangers.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes.
Agreed. There's a Rangers
Worst
fan.
fan base in sports.
Worst fan base in sports. Why is that? Just so I can continue to bury Bruce.
Mostly because of their fans online. So, I mean, you can't hold it against all of them, but they are just brutal. You can't be even the slightest bit critical of what they got going. They were a run-and-gun team all year long, giving up way too many high-danger scoring chances. They relied on their young stud goaltender who's going to win the Vezina in Shesterkin. And I knew with the structure that the Penguins have, the leadership in that locker room with Sid, Gino, Letang, I was like, this might be their last dance. I think that they got one last run in them, and they're going to go all the way. The only thing that sucks is they weren't able to pick up Fleury at the deadline in order to bring the band back together. Oh, I would have had a full raging hockey boner if they would have done that.
Me too.
Nonetheless,
Me too.
this is what they do. Even when they went on that second run, when they beat Nashville, they had no Letang, they had no Dumoulin, they dealt with injuries, but they're so strong in the middle of the ice, and they have that leadership from Sid, and that's why I think that they're going to potentially go to the promised land again. Although the parity in the league and the amount of wagon teams that are involved, they still have a very difficult road ahead. But I love Sidney Crosby. He is the greatest ambassador of our generation,
yes,
and I couldn't have more positive things to say about the guy.
Well, let's have more positive things to say about him. I know you said Gretzky, best player of all time. I assume that's just all hockey circles. In my eyes, okay, Sidney Crosby, best player of all time. Mario Lemieux, number 2 right there. Wayne, close 3, though. I mean, those three right there in the conversation. Me, specifically because I was old enough to celebrate what Sidney Crosby brought to Pittsburgh in multiple times in the way he wanted to do it. So I think that is why I view him as the greatest hockey player on earth, because there has been great times because of Sidney Crosby or whatever. He is so good at everything, right? That's what separates him from everybody else, right? He's just good at the entire game of hockey. And why is that the case with him as opposed to everybody else?
I mean, let's go back to the start. Like, he was this phenom, and he had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's ran with it. He's never made any mistakes off the ice. He's so humble. All he does is continue to excel his game. Not even during the season. As soon as the season ends, he takes a little bit of time off. He's back at it, training 2 times a day, 6 days a week. As far as adjusting his game, sometimes when you come out of junior and these guys are collecting 150, 200 points, they don't necessarily transition their game well to the NHL style, because all of a sudden you're playing against guys who are just as skilled. And he was able to not only develop his game on the defensive side and learn situational awareness at the NHL level, but also on top of that, add that leadership to his game where he'll sacrifice at any time. You saw at the end of the game the other night when they were up, he could have easily took the puck to the net in that last 7 minutes a few times. And what did he do? He took it, he went and ate it below the goal line, killed the clock, took short shifts, and then he goes off the ice, makes an ozone change so fresh bodies can come back on the ice, so Coach Sullivan can double shift them so they can solidify that win. To see his progression throughout his career and the amount of pressure he had coming in and what he's done with it and lived up to every goddamn expectation that was expected of him, on top of not only the hockey side of it, but the ambassador side of it, of how he interacts with fans and how he gives people his time, and how he didn't get caught up in all the other bullshit. I know I didn't get to spend a lot of time with him, but the work ethic speaks for itself. And talking about him right now, I get goosebumps because
me too.
I was able to play with the greatest player, in my opinion, of our generation, and he was always so kind to me. And I pray that he's able to deliver in his final years one last run to that franchise and fan base. And I wish him the world, man.
Yeah, me too. I wish him the goddamn world.
That was a major stroke off I just gave Sid. He better come on the pod. He better be coming on the pod for another interview after that one.
Well, listen, that was a great promo. But it is on this platform, though, so you should come on this show.
Yeah,
you should come on this show, too. You know what I mean?
I'll text him, and I'll be like, you got to get on the Mac. I mean, you guys could probably get him anyway, but
I doubt it. I doubt it, honestly. We are not plugged like that, but Sid is the man. I've gotten very intoxicated because of him.
You guys got the hockey podcast going with Rupper now. Rupper played with him. Rupper would easily be able to get you guys Sidney Crosby.
What are your thoughts on Rupper? That dude is one of the most cockstrong looking guys of all time. That's just big, huge Ohio guy.
He actually beat the shit out of me one time on the ice. So I don't know how many kind words. No, he's an awesome guy. He beat the wheels off me. He's an absolute bear. Had an incredible career, and we had very similar roles, right? So you always talk to guys amongst the leagues. He was always liked. Every team he went to, everybody has great things to say about him. And of course, when you're the guy who ends up protecting everyone, I'm sure they're going to have even more great things to say about you. So happy to see that after his career and and his Stanley Cup and everything that he did involved in the game, he was able to transfer it into the media side, and he's crushing it with you guys now. And I know you guys are growing that hockey pod as well. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, but I know it'll keep crushing as well.
All right, it's very difficult. That's Hockey Talk.
Oh, okay, there you go. Okay, I got it. There, fuck, I fucked
Hell
up.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no,
I got CTE from Rupper Boy, so
we just heard about it a little bit. But the hockey lingo, I think, makes any hockey podcast enjoyable to begin. Dummy, Muppet, this, that. I mean, you dropped something earlier that was clearly
Was it Shaker?
Shaker, yeah, the Shaker. I mean, just the lingo is entertaining in of itself. That's why I'm happy it continues. Oh, here's Zito did some work here in the back. Is that
Rupper? Oh yeah, he cut me open bad.
He's large, right? I mean, he's huge. You're at your size. How big are you?
I'm 6'2". I was probably 6'2 and a half, 220 when I played. And then now that my playing days are over, I'm probably down to like about 210, 205. So, I mean, AJ, you could probably speak to it more from your position. I'm sure that you've gone down in weight since you retired.
Yeah, a little bit. I got light my last couple of years, but yeah,
Biz, he works out every single day as if he's in training camp.
Still?
Like you talked about Sid.
I'm naturally supposed to be what I am.
Yeah, naturally supposed to be what I am. Every morning he's doing what Sid's doing. Were you?
You look a lot bigger. I mean, now you're doing the wrestling gig. Did they tell you got to pack on a few pounds?
No, this is where I'm naturally at, Biz. This is just where I'm naturally at.
Well, the arms look a lot more jacked.
Come on. That's because I wear tank tops every day. Have to. You know what I mean? Have to do it, Biz.
The tans help. The tans help a lot, too.
I'm going to spray tan, too. You know, every once in a while, I got to take a trip out there. But, hey, when you're fighting people, you're a fighter. Are you left jab or are you right? What is your style of fighting? I'm enjoying watching people's different style of brawling in the hockey world.
So when I came up, I was a defenseman, and I never really fought that much. I just realized at a certain point that I just wasn't good enough to make the league if I was going to stay stubborn and want to stick to my original position. So they actually switched me over to forward in the minors with the Pittsburgh organization. And legit, the writing was on the wall. I came in for a game one time, and I was fourth line left wing, and I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I kind of know where this is going. And I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to start scrapping. And I was not a hardcore fighter like some of these guys who are going to stand in there and chuck bombs. I started doing that jersey jab quite a bit because I just didn't want to get caught. So sometimes after doing the jersey jab, you would have time to open up and cock a guy with your right. But you look back to some of these old fights, and I do the panel with Rick Tocchet, who actually led the NHL all time in Gordie Howe hat tricks. This guy was nails. They would stand in there, and it was just basically like a exchange tee-offs right to the face. So I didn't want to go in with that approach with all my rookiness in the fighting department.
Sense.
So I kind of developed this habit of using the jab to keep the distance away, and then once in a while throw the right. So if you ask some old school fighters, they'd say, "Oh God, these pussies ruin the game of fighting. These guys don't stand in there like the old school boys." But I just had to do that to protect my noggin because I was a bit of I was a bit soft. And as you can see by my beak, I think I got caught enough times to where I had to learn to adapt.
No. I don't. I mean,
I got a Chris Drury on my face. I got a banana hook. And I can't breathe out of one nostril. So
that's unbelievable.
Hey, fucked up.
Hey, well deserved. Hey, well earned. That was earned. That was earned, not being able to breathe out of one nostril. Go ahead, Ty.
Biz, going into the playoffs, a lot of people were picking the Lightning as like the trendy pick to win it all, and then Toronto kind of hung in there a little bit. Are they going to choke again? And when is the next time that a Canadian team is potentially going to win Stanley Cup? Is that ever going to happen again?
So I was riding with the Leafs and with Calgary this year. If I had to put my money on either team, I would definitely put it on Calgary. They're just built for that physical style of playoff game, and their goaltender is unbelievable. And of course, if you look at the coach, he's got the experience, won a couple cups with the LA Kings. As far as Toronto's concerned, I like a lot of the guys in their team. I sympathize for their fan base. They're much like the Boston Red Sox of MLB on how they've had this long period of time where they've dealt with all this pain and suffering without winning a championship.
Oh, no. Not the Red Sox.
The Red Sox have three.
Poor millionaires. But, I just figured that the levee would break at some point, and I figured that this year was the year to do it. They ended up drawing Tampa Bay in the first round. Now, the good side of that is Tampa's played a shit ton of hockey in the last couple of years with the runs they've been on, but they were able to reload with getting a few guys at the deadline, and they still have that unbelievable core group with their goaltender. So as of right now, I'm still riding with the Leafs, but if they end up choking, so to speak, I wouldn't be surprised just at the fact that they had this difficult draw in Tampa Bay. But what's pissing me off about Toronto is that they show up in game 1 and they dominate, and then in game 2 they lay an egg, and then all of a sudden in game 3 they show up again, and then in game 4 they lay another egg. So I'm just flabbergasted at the inconsistency. Is what do you expect? These guys are the defending champions. In 16 tries after following a loss, the Tampa Bay Lightning have followed by winning a game. Vasilevsky has not lost back-to-back games in the playoffs in 16 tries. So from puck drop, show the fuck up. How do you allow them to score 3-4 goals in the first period when you guys have your heads up your ass? So I'm still riding with the Leafs. Pivotal game 5 at home tonight. If they lose tonight, I think they're absolutely done. And I will be so pissed off at the fact that I rode with them all season long and believed in this core group to get the job done. So they got a lot of work ahead of them, but let's hope they get it done. But Calgary would be my Canadian team to pick to bring the cup home back to Canada.
You sound embarrassed about your Leaf fanship. You sound embarrassed. That's what it sounds like from you. You're like bummed and embarrassed almost.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking a lot of shit online all year, and I think I'm getting a little bit nervous.
Yeah,
and I've lost a little bit of money as well.
Yeah, well, that'll help
over the years.
Go ahead, AJ.
Biz, can coaches still coach hard in the NHL? Like, I've seen so many awesome clips of coaches back in the day of how they would speak to players and things like coaching them hard, man. Like it was no joke. And of course, like Torch trying to fight guys back in the hallways between, like, that stuff's amazing. Like, can coaches still do that, or is it like a new generation?
These younger guys are soft. I don't know how it is in the NFL. They're just a lot softer. You can't speak to them the way you used to speak to them. My favorite coach I ever had was a guy named Mike Stuthers. I had him in junior, and he would scare the shit out of us. Like, he would come in with the video guy, and he had the laser pointer out, and he would go around just like ripping guys individually. I ended up having him in the AHL towards the end of my career, and we ended up winning a Calder Cup with him.
Hey, here we go.
I personally love the guys like Torts. I like when coaches are holding guys extremely accountable. In the same breath, though, like him, just like Torts, you hear about every guy loving him when push comes to shove. Yeah, they might have had it out with a few players, which had poopy pants, and they asked for trades, and they ended up leaving. But for the most part, their players love them, and I think that you've seen a major shift in the way that coaches have to approach guys at the NHL level, and even so much so where a few guys have been canned over some incidences where the way they. I mean, Babcock would be probably one example where the reason I'm really not on Babcock's side about it, though, who used to coach for the Leafs, is because I felt like there was a little bit of like mental mind game manipulation type shit going on, as opposed to just like if a guy's playing like shit, coming in the locker room and telling him to wake the fuck up, and and calling him out for his mistakes. So there's definitely a fine line in my opinion, but I loved my old school coaches, and I felt that they taught me so much, not only about the game and accountability, it's transformed into real life. I don't think that I would have had the success that I've had post-career if not having those coaches instill those types of things in me. And I'm sure that you guys might have similar stories as well.
Yeah, I think that happens in all sports now. And the new generation, I think they're learning differently. They just kind of are coming up in a much different world. The social world, with it all being right in your hand, I feel like you're much more delicate mentally than maybe in the past where we were just all doofuses, I feel. You know what I mean? Like, hey, whatever somebody tells you, you just like, all right, I guess. And you just got to kind of move along. Now with how intimate everything is, every terrible thing said about you, you see, I don't know, it's just it's a different dynamic. I don't think I could have made it in this particular one, though. I'm very thankful to be from the same one you just described.
Yeah, it's gnarly, and you mentioned the social media stuff. Like, yeah, I couldn't imagine if I was coming up in junior in my early career in pro, dealing with all this stuff and understanding it. I was fortunate enough where I was introduced to it at a later age, where I had a little bit more of an understanding of it. I still don't really completely understand it all, but I completely agree with what you're saying. And I think that maybe it needs to go back to at least the middle. I think it's gone a little bit too far the other way. Let's just bring it back to a normal place where I think that most people in this world agree that it should be.
Well, you're going to get chewed out for even saying that.
Yeah.
What a fucking
I'm done.
Yeah, bad guy. Bad guy.
In the mix with you and Rogers.
Bro, Hey, I don't know if you're kind of breaking up here. I don't know if we should call you back or not, or if you'll get service, but it's been a hell of a conversation thus far. We appreciate it. I was in the middle of the political wars in other countries, Biz. I don't know if you saw that. I don't even know if you're still there.
I'm hoping that am I back?
Yeah, you're always back, dude. Yeah, you look good.
You a big Trudeau fan?
Jesus. Jesus. Connor, your question?
Yeah, Biz, for the Bruins, Marshy and Pasta seemed a little horned up, if you will, in games 1 and 2. After they go home to Boston, now the series is tied and Swayman's back. Are they one of the wagons you were talking about who could go on a run here?
So I picked Boston to win the series just based on experience. Am I struggling here, boys, with the Wi-Fi connection?
No, you're good right now.
Okay. Oh shit! I just fucking hopped back on Wi-Fi. Sorry about that. How am I? I'm butchering the end of this interview here. How am I now? Am I good?
No, you're terrible, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. That's it. It's a shame
Am
we
I
can't
good?
hear
Am I
about.
good?
Yeah.
Am I back?
Are you there?
Fuck me.
Biz.
Biz.
I just got off the Wi-Fi.
Biz. Oh, no. Biz.
Am I back?
Biz.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah! Hey, way to work through there.
Way to battle.
Hey, hey, that's that toughness from that hard coaching, Coach Stothers. That's that hard coaching, getting through adversity there.
That went through the Wi-Fi adversity. Fuck you, Wi-Fi.
Yeah! Woo! Imagine if you grew up in the modern era, you would have had that figured out much quicker, but you wouldn't have been able to get through the adversity. No way. The adversity that you went through right there live on camera. Way to go, Biz. Way to go.
Just the way that Boston did in that series against Carolina. I had Boston going in because of the experience and the injury and goaltending, injury and goal to Carolina. Excuse me.
Oh no!
But they went back home and they got back to Bruins hockey. Physical play, execution from the top two lines, specifically Brad Marchand. And so we've had Brad Marchand on the TNT broadcast 5 times this year, and we call him Mr. TNT now because he scored 6 goals. So he was kind of playing like shit in the first couple games. He reached out to TNT. He says, I want to be on the broadcast beginning of Game 3 before we go on. And we got him on. Sure as shit. He ends up burying in Game 3 and 4. They win both at home. And now I believe they're going back to Carolina with all the momentum in the world. So as far as guys who are carrying around their balls in a big old wheelbarrow, Brad Marchand is probably at the top of my list as far as guys who are basically calling their shot and have all the jam in the world to where they're going into a bit of a shitstorm situation, and they're willing to do it with a smile on their face.
Yeah.
Don't have him on the show. We need a Bruins ad.
I don't know about that. Bees, Penguins.
Who's going to win the cup? Who's going to win the cup right now if you had to make one prediction? Pittsburgh Penguins, you said?
I would love for the Pens if I was a betting man.
Which
it feels like it's Colorado's time. They got this kid, Cale Makar. He's probably the best defenseman since Bobby Orr. I don't know how much you've got to see him play. The way that he moves out there, he's a video game type player. For probably the next 10 years, he'll bury 30 goals a year. The way that he drives offense. I don't know how many of you saw that Game 2 in Colorado against the Nashville Predators. He had 11 shots on net. This is coming from Wayne, too. He goes, that might be one of the best, if not the best, performances by a defenseman I've ever seen in playoff history. So when the GOAT's saying that, you got to agree with him. And then our buddy Nathan McKinnon, he's been with the organization 8 or 9 years. They have fumble-fucked their opportunities in playoffs before. I think that he is a man-possessed, and I think that they are probably going to get the job done. If somebody held a gun to my head and said, pick a team, I would probably say Colorado. Right?
Well, hopefully you don't end up in that situation ever. Only good things happening going forward. We appreciate you so much. Continued success with Spittin Chiclets and everything else you have going on. We appreciate the hell out of you, man.
Hey, all you guys and your whole team, you guys are murdering it. Go get your bag. Go get a bigger bag than Brady. And thanks for having me on. And I'll mention to Sid that we got to get him on the podcast.
Oh, merci.
Your show.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup, sir. Merci beaucoup. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Bissonnette, Business. Yeah! I almost went into a full French conversation, but we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time for all that.